Hello! I would like to take a moment to explore something from the past and something from today when I compare the philosophy of Andre Bazin, one of the founding fathers of cinema, and how it translated in Pixar's animated film Coco. Andre Bazin, maybe without even realizing it, described how the very notion of creating and how creators actually recording the world around them serves to preserve us as humans. Let's start from the top. In Bazin's famous article, The Ontology of the Photographic Image, he discussed a term coined by himself as the mummy complex, in which he argues that art and sculpture, in their very core, come from man's fear of death and the never-ending attempt to escape it. He gave the example of how the ancient Egyptians would mummify themselves in order to escape the clutches of time and keep some part of them alive in the living realm. Bazin goes farther in and explains how, with the advancements of cultures, the magical attributes of things like mummies and sarcophagi and clay statues lost its value and taken shape in the form of portraits commemorating their owners, and essentially kept them from being forgotten and figuratively dying for a second time. Now, that's where Coco comes into the picture. The plot of the movie revolves around a certain aspect of Mexican culture that has to do with remembering their deceased loved ones by putting up their pictures on a dedicated altar-like table called an ofrenda. In the movie, the photo on the ofrenda literally serves as the deceased man's ticket to pass back into the living world on Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead. The movie's plot follows a boy named Miguel, whose passion is to sing and play guitar. Unfortunately for Miguel, music is not allowed in his family's household because of his great-great-grandfather, who had left the family to play for the world and never returned.
No music! No music! No music!
I think we're the only family in Mexico who hates music.
From there on out, we get to meet a bunch of colorful characters and see the actual world of the dead, to which the rules of the holiday apply. You only get to go on the flower bridge and cross to the other side if your photo is on an ofrenda. And if there is no one in the living world to remember you, you disappear entirely in something called the final death. Now, coming back to Bazin's article. Bazin compares the hyper-realistic Baroque-era portrait to the revolutionary work of the camera. He claims that no matter how hard a painter tries to accurately capture the reality in front of him, he could never do so due to the painter's very hand in the process of making the painting. The camera, however, was a cold, objective machine that would artificially create a perfect copy of reality, thus achieving the level of realism required to satisfy the human need of preservation. A way of embalming a moment and a person in time. In Coco, we follow characters fighting to be remembered via various methods of media they left behind, whether it's film, music, or photography. But only the very image of a person as they were is the sole key to allow them to cross back into the living realm and visit their family. We see that urgent need in characters like Hector.
Yes, you're going back to the land of the living!
You know what? Maybe this isn't such
No,
a good...
niño, I can help you. You can help me. We can help each other.
Who spends most of the movie desperately trying to get Miguel to put his photo or his embalmed self on the ofrenda so he could go visit his daughter one last time before he is forgotten. Or in the main antagonist of the story, Ernesto de la Cruz, who not only obsess over being remembered as a great performer,
Remember me, though I have to say goodbye, remember me!
but also star in movies who capture the very image of himself as he wanted to be preserved to the world, although we later learn they were false recreated scenes that depicted him as a hero when in reality he was the villain of the situation.
And you told me you would move heaven and earth for your amigo. Well,
I'm asking you to now.
Heaven and earth? Like in the movie?
What?
That's Don Hidalgo's toast. In the De La Cruz movie, El Camino a Casa.
I'm talking about my real life, Miguel.
No, it's in there. Look.
This calls for a toast to our friendship. I would move heaven and earth for you, mi amigo.
But in the movie, Don Hidalgo poisons the drink.
Salud. Poison.
I would move heaven and earth for you, mi amigo. Salud!
Ernesto essentially uses the camera's ability to capture reality in order to create a false version of it. To summarize, Bazin not only recognized the camera and cinema as tools who inherited paintings and sculptures in a way, but he also helped theorize on and uncover the main reason we as artists and humans create and attempt to capture our surroundings. And of course, our deepest, darkest fears as humans, which is essentially disappearing without anyone ever knowing we existed. Coco as a movie takes that concept to a very literal place, where a person's embalmed memory can be his very redemption.